Hello and welcome to this edition of Tips and Tricks. Now today I'm going to be talking about the best way to catch more bass in the winter. Now most bass fishermen know in winter it's tough. Bass is a warm water fish, the water gets cold, their metabolism goes to like 1/3 normal or even less, and they don't eat much. The problem is most bass fishermen think, oh, okay, well they're not eating much. That means they probably want to eat something bigger when they do. But no, instinctually in the cold water, bass go to wanting to eat smaller things. Their metabolism is slow, which means they can't even open their mouth as fast. They can't even chase things as fast. And that actually reduces their range for sucking in baits or bait fish or whatever they're trying to eat. Now the problem is bigger things have less surface area. And there's also a thing called handling time. So in the winter, if they're trying to eat something that's bigger, first off, they can't suck it in as well. Then once they get in their mouth and try to rearrange it and get to the point they can swallow it. And then after that, once it gets into their stomach, since it has less surface area, their body cannot break it down. Now yes, it's wintertime. They're hardly burning any energy to survive. So that's why I'm telling you this tips and tricks and why you need to go micro. Because instinctually the bass go that way. They don't need much food. And they can still get really plump and really fat, eating 1 or 2 small things a day. And so we're going to start this out with the baits. And I'm going to start with probably which is the most famous and most well-known winter bait, the jig. But a lot of fishermen go out with their jigs and they still use their big jigs. I mean, they're using their regular jigs they do with the bigger trailer, and this is only a 1/4 ounce, this is actually light, but you know, they're still using a 1/2 ounce and a 3/8, the big full skirt, the big trailer. But yes, jigs are incredibly good in winter, but you need to downsize them. You need to go micro. This is the little one I use. This is a 3/16. I use a 3/16 or a 1/8. A lot of fishermen will go down to a 1/16 or even a 1/64 in winter. And you don't want one of those big trailers. Like you can see the difference in the size of these two baits. Look at the size of that trailer compared to this little trailer. This is one of our pocket craws. It's really thin, it's really small. Little claws. It's a lot smaller profile. And I go out and work these all the same places as you would work a normal jig, a bigger jig. Over rocks, over wood, around brush. But like I said, since they can't even open their mouth as hard, their suction to get it in is even reduced. To get this in, it takes much less of a to get it in. And that's why I said I did that show on the subtle winter bite, because they're not like sucking in really quick where you feel the thump in that. They're just like getting just enough to get it in. When you keep using these bigger jigs and that, yeah, they might be there and they might have to nuzzle up to it, and when they do the suction that, they might not really even get it in all the way. They might just catch it like halfway. So that's why it's so important to go micro and give them something that's incredibly light and easy. And on top of that, smaller baits, more surface area, it's easier for their body to digest it, and since their metabolism is running so slow, that's why they instinctually go to wanting to eat smaller baits. And like I said, they might only eat 1 or 2 small things a day, not 15 or 20 like they do in the summer when their metabolism is just going nuts. But these smaller baits still allow them to get fat and chunky. Now I actually have, I'm going to show you some clips of some fish I caught. That's a show I did in January. Water was like 45, 44. I was out with this same exact little 3/16 ounce finesse jig. And these were some of the fish I caught that day.
Alright, right after I just got through, it's been slow. I catch this little guy. Might be a keeper if you step on him. Probably like 11.5. On a little finesse jig, or weedless one. 16th ounce. Watermelon candy. So I don't know, I'm gonna, now that I know there's something around here, I'm gonna play around here and maybe I can get some more and some bigger ones on a little finesse jig. A couple casts later after that fish, a little keeper on the finesse jig. Got some, looks like he's got some cormorant marks on him. Yeah, they hit it and swim with it. You don't really feel them bite it, but once you hook them, they fight pretty hard. Alright, let me explore this area some more and see if I can get them going bigger and bigger. Still working this area with the finesse jig. Right there, same one. 1/8 ounce green pumpkin candy. Got one of our little pocket craw trailers on it. This time I cast it a little closer. I ended up getting this one. Probably about a pound and a half maybe. Yeah, it's a strong fighter. Anyways, he feels like he's a popsicle. They're fighting hard. Okay, switched locations. Picked up my best fish. This one's probably at least 3, maybe 3.5 on the finesse jig.
Okay, so now we've explored the jig and going micro with the jig. Like I said, jig, probably one of the most popular winter baits ever in bass fishing. So there we go, that's the jig. Now we'll go to another thing that's something people use when the bite's tough and, you know, winter it's tough because of metabolism. And that is your stick bait, your Senko. Now most people in winter will still go with, like, this is a 5.5 inch, they'll go with the 6 inch, they'll go with the 7 inch. They're still going with a bigger bait. Anyway, you know, it's slower and you can move it slower, and it's such an also popular tough time bass catching bait. But in the winter, I even take these and go micro with them. In the winter, I go all the way down to a 3 inch, and I still hook it up wacky. Now, of course, you try and throw this little thing out wacky on just a hook weightless. In winter, especially when they're sometimes a little bit deeper, you're going to have to wait 45 minutes for this thing to get to the bottom. And then when you start working it, every time you work it, it's just going to keep coming up and up, and then you have to wait another 2 minutes for it to fall back down. So what I do is go wacky with it, but weight it. This is an 1/8 ounce. I usually go to a 1/16 on it, but this gives it a little bit more of the weight to get it down to the bottom, and allows you to actually give it the horizontal mambo, like a shaky head and shake it along the bottom. When you give it that weight, you can keep it down there, and if you're, you know, out in like 10, 15, maybe 20 foot of water, it'll still get this thing down there, and you can still subtly move it right there on the bottom where the fish are most likely going to be hanging out in the winter. Or if they're a little bit suspended, if you go with the bigger weightless, you're out that deep, it's going to take a long time, it's going to take a while to get down there. But like I said, instinctually they go for smaller baits in the winter. So that's my technique, other than going finesse with a jig and going micro with a jig, is to go micro with a little whacking worm. Now I also have some footage here from another show. I think I did it like the next week after that one I just showed you with the finesse jig. But here are some fish I caught in 45-degree water in January, flicking a little 3 inch stick worm.
Alright, still just kicking back in the same area. Caught this little fish, not quite a keeper. Yeah, I don't know, this boat's all wet. I'm trying to get in the sun, let it dry out so I can actually maybe sit down or do something, try to stand. I don't know, I'm going to keep filming. See how many fish I get. So this is sort of a impromptu throw it on type show. Still just playing around right in this spot. Got a little bit nicer one. I'm just out here, you can see it, I'm right next to the launch. Just out here throwing a little dropping stick, flicking it. A little sour grape. That's the third little keeper I've already caught. I'm just playing around this one spot. Still working along with the dropping stick. And I got this good one. Probably a good 3-pounder, solid 3, maybe 3.5. Yeah. Little dropping stick again. And sour grape. Seems to be the color. Right here, flipped it right in this little spot of shade, worked it over a little branch, and bam. That buddy hit it. Alright, hopefully there's more and even bigger ones than these coming. Okay, odd as it might seem, my friend had a theory, say cast by the flowers. Last time when I cast by the flowers, I caught that big one. I go a little bit further down, cast by some flowers, catch another keeper. So, I don't know what the correlation is, but for some reason, where the flowers are, I'm getting good fish. There's actually flowers coming up in a spot. So I'm going to try some more flower spots. Again, on a little dropping stick flicking.
So there we go. How to load the boat with more wintertime bass. Go micro. And go micro with 2 of the best known baits to catch bass in times that it's tough. Because I'm telling you, you might actually start enjoying winter a lot more going micro. Hope this helps. Until next time.